Welcome to Home Cinema and Tech Review. In this video, I'd like to talk about the regular projectors in the second-hand market and brand new cheap LED projectors, which one you should be choosing. In my earlier videos, I talked about this subject, and this video will not be covering a second-hand market of the regular projectors as we know it. But since the LED projectors are quite increasing in the amount of solutions they create on the market with different new brands that we never even heard of before, what do they have to offer us and what's the advantage of them in general? In this video we're going to be talking, and also we're going to be looking at a regular good projector, what it can deliver to you in the second-hand market with a good price performance range. Let's just dive into the subject. First of all, I'd like to talk about projectors that we used to, like the lamp style projectors. They have bigger cases, but that also creates a lot of space for buttons, so many of the functions you can easily reach out and change on the device itself. But these devices are quite small, even though they add buttons. Their menus are quite complicated than these devices. So many of them has Android or some sort of a Linux in the LED area, but in the classic style, bulb style projectors, many of them don't have quite smart functions, but functions are simple and easier to reach, which I will tell you in a minute, maybe in the detail. And when we go back and when we go take a look at the back side of the projectors, since they're big, they have a lot of connection options like power input. They are also giving power output from USB drive, and they also have some sort of USB video connection, and also VGA is a forgotten standard for the LED versions. They don't use this, and the HDMI ports are more than one, and you can also even use a classic composite style connections as well, so they might have bigger speakers. But if you're using or if you're planning to have LEDs, small projectors, they don't have too much connections like HDMI, USB, and probably audio, a couple of audio ports, and that's about it. They don't tend to use a second HDMI or VGA or many complicated input options. So other than that, you have many of them uses adapters and small fans, and some of them uses filters like this, but basically this is a small projector. So what do we gain? These are some sort of positives and negatives in general when we compare the physical abilities. But when we take a look at the remotes, since this is a second-hand projector, I haven't had a chance to find time to clean this. Maybe I will create another video how you can clear your remote controls. So by looking at the remotes, we can clearly tell the generic design projectors, bulb projectors tend to use a classic style remotes with many functions, easier to reach, like a volume, like a color mode, aspect ratio, and MHL menu, and like changing the source or HDMI and video input and output, USB or LAN kind of stuff, and also zoom functions. Everything can be easily reachable, and as you can see, we have two HDMI ports and split screen functions, like complicated functions we have, and we can easily reach them out. So we can freeze the screen if we are in the middle of a presentation. So these devices tend to be created for a purpose like a presentation and professional level, and then later on like a home cinema, of course, configuration also possible. But when we take a look at the standard Android or these sort of less than $100 cheap projection level remotes, they don't have many functions, and one of the difficulties that I find when I use them in daily manner, their menus are okay. With the Android it's easy, but getting the settings done for the visuals, like a projector settings, not the Android settings, is difficult because you tend to have no button at all for custom settings like aspect ratio, color mode, sharpness and stuff like this, and four-pointer keystone. It's difficult to get in. So you have to do something like this. You have to go to the menu and then find the projector settings, and then inside the projector settings you have to find the visual settings, and then in the visual settings you have to find four-corner settings, and etc, etc. So you always have to go in, and then some sort of find it, and then try to correct it or use the settings that you find. And then you have to go to the back, or pushing the menu button. Once again you're out, and if you have to go inside again, you have to push the buttons. But with these you have to just click a button or aspect ratio and you're good to go, and you adjust it. So these type of devices have many visual settings like flip, flop, or vertical or horizontal. So you can mount them on ceilings, and you can mount them on walls, and you can change the angle, flip, flop the settings like the visuals. But many of the projectors in this area don't have these visual settings. They most of the time have four-pointer keystones, but this is also too digital, and when you do it too much, it's not ideal to use four-corner keystones always. Being perfect angle is the best solution to get the best picture quality out of any projector. We have a dedicated video about this. But when you take a look at this, it doesn't have a vertical or horizontal flipping the visual. So you cannot mount it on a ceiling like this, return it. You always have to use it like this angle, project the screen. One other downside is with the instead of a regular projector, by going small projector like this, you don't have zoom settings. Many of the projectors with the professional settings, or let's just say bulb projectors, they tend to have at least some sort of zoom, like 1 to 1.1, 1.2 of some of them. So you can create wider visual or shorter visual with the same distance. That is a plus, easy of use. But many of the small projectors like this, they tend to use a cheapest lens as possible because their price is cheap. For example, this is a $70 range of projector. I don't know even exact resolution of it. I'm not going to probably review it, but who knows, if I find time, I might. But the image quality, you can't be sure about it because you don't know the optical quality of it. Like I showed you in my earlier videos, my Optoma UHD 35 had a f1.9 lens, so it was like a camera lens, professional camera lens, and showing the diaphragm number. So they tend to believe their product, the professional level of projectors, they believe their product and they declare their lens quality on them. So none of these Chinese projectors tend to declare any number, especially under the $100 range. You're going to get softer image, believe me. Like I reviewed Wanbo and the sharpness was quite good, and I was impressed. So it was better than the LG HF65 60LS LED big and expensive projector. It was near probably 4 times cheaper, 4 or 5 times cheaper than that projector, like an LG, but Wanbo was sharper with the glass. But these projectors under $100 range, they tend to go quite soft because of their glass choice. So if you have an expensive glass, you might probably you're going to create a sharper image. But with the Epson, Optoma, Acer, you don't have to afraid because they are focused on the quality and they have to put a good lens in their projectors. So one other thing that you probably have functions like a cover to protect the lens, and this is for the Epson. Some models have plastic covers like a lens cover, photo lens cover, and the couple of other things that we have to mention. Changing the bulb, we are going to create another video about it, but changing the bulbs are quite easy with these devices, and bulb costs are quite low, but we don't know actually what's inside of these devices because they are built in close manner. So if you open up all the device, and we can check later on maybe how you can upgrade the LED if it's, end of its life cycle of 20 or 30,000 hours of lifetime. But these devices one minus for these and one plus for this. These devices tend to create much less bright image compared to classic style projectors. So I highly recommend at least search for second-hand market and good quality projector with a clean setup. Of course, this is not too clean projector. I bought it second-hand and it was about $250 to $300 range. By the way, it is more expensive projector and the lens is wide angle. Many of the cheap projectors tend to use not too wide but regular angle projectors, so you cannot get too close for a good size image. So if you go back, these don't have too much of a light power, so light even go less. But with these devices, they tend to produce, for example, this is about 3000 level of ANSI lumen. This is 250 on the declaration. So many of the big brands declare the closer numbers, and these type of unknown brands and also with bad lenses, they tend to create much less bright images. So when you open up each one of them, you really realize you have to some sort of a wait and spend your money carefully. And if you compare these devices with the $150 range Wanbo style quality LED projectors and above the entry level, like quality entry level, let's just say, these are not nowhere near in their sharpness levels. And let's just say one of the things that we have with many projectors, they tend to have a front leg, so they can adjust the angle, front angle. And because of, many of the presentations might be happening from a table to a screen or lower level of some sort of stand on it, but these devices don't have anything, so you have to have a tripod. Carrying a tripod is a hassle, but with these devices you have to only find a flat surface and just follow up the front angle element and create an angle. And many of them has also like legs, so you can arrange the height and angle if you don't have a flat surface. So you got like 4 of them, like 2 on the back, and some brands also use 2 on the front. But for example, right now we have 1 on the front, 2 at the back, and it's quite enough for you to arrange. And many of these type of projectors, let's just say one downside for the big ones, they tend to use 1, 2, 3 holes for holders, like ceiling holders or wall mounts, like a VESA mount for the monitors and TVs. So you have to find yourself a custom adapter that will go like this and also take another hole like this, connect it to a place. So you need a custom setup, but these devices are small, so you can get away with only single tripod mount. That's a plus or minus. It depends on where you look at things. And I think I've covered nearly every subject. Which I would go for? I would probably look for, first of all, a bigger projector. I know it's bigger. I know its power consumption is more than the LED models. But I think overall the efficiency, what it gives as a brightness is much more than these devices, because these devices consume amount of power. When you compare the power output from them and these, probably bigger projectors with known brands have better glass, better light source, and better image sensor behind the back of these lenses, and they create a better color accuracy and better sharpness, and overall you won't regret the extra money that you spend. By the way, these devices are, when you go to the AliExpress, they tend to look cheap, but when you include shipping and tax and stuff, prices are kind of like a doubling, because the shipment cost is high. These are not small things like the watches and bracelets or rings, accessories, small accessories. So you need to be thinking how you are spending your money. One other thing is these things don't have most of the time good focusing levers. As you can see, this is moving too fast, and it's easy to catch perfect sharpness. By the way, the lens qualities, like I told you, unfortunately not good of many of these smaller and less than let's just say $100 range projectors. And adding a bad focus levers just make things a little bit of worse. So you might want to consider before purchasing less than $100 range cheap LED projectors if you are in a market of just looking for a new projector. Just think about the second-hand classic bulb style projectors, because people tend to upgrade their full HDs into the 4K region, and resolution is might not be everything, because these devices tend to declare themselves as a full HD, but I've seen better image quality of a professional level like Epson or BenQ level good projector from 720p way better than these cheap models. So it depends on the projector how they declare the quality. So if I say you my projector is full HD like this Polaring, and I've tested it and it is quite soft, telling this projector is a true full HD will not do justice to this Epson, because when you see this one and that one, if we are telling that this is full HD and this is true full HD, if you see them side by side, you'll be hating this and you'll be fall in love with this. So the difference is a night and day. This is one of the reason of sensors, like I told you, and optic quality. So I'm not sure trusting at least less than $100 range of products. By the way, I'm not just trying to hurt this brand. I purchased this, but they have expensive products as well. But when you go less than $100, you have to accept some of the downsizes that you have to deal with. So probably brands tend to declare their 720p projectors like a full HD, or they use cheaper lenses and the image quality got too soft. So then you're not really actually even your hardware might be full HD, but you're going to be showing less than full HD resolution sharpness. So I believe I covered many of the subjects that I want to cover in a small video. Don't focus or Epson or Polaring brands, but focus in the subject in general. So I created a dedicated video before purchasing a projector, a friendly conversation. If you haven't watched that, please watch that. That video will give you quite a bit of information before purchasing any kind of projector. So let me know what you think at the comment section below. By the way, I haven't compared these products like one to another, because these are apple to oranges. Don't get me wrong, this is no comparison, but this is giving you, if you can find, and you can find, I've checked the marketplaces like eBay and second-hand market in my own country, Turkey, so you can clearly find decent priced second-hand Full HD BenQ or Epson. Some of them like 3LCD like Epson, some of them DLP, but their image quality is way sharper than cheapest LED projectors. Would I buy a fresh, brand new LED that I don't know the specs of it? Or would I buy a similar amount of money in the second-hand market, maybe a little bit of lifespan past, like used bulb level of projector? I would go for a bigger projector and try my chances and try to change the bulb later on. Hope to see you in the next video, home cinema and tech review. And if you want to learn more, write down at the comment section what you want to learn about home cinema setups and how you can create as cheap or as affordable as possible. We are not going to showing all cheap products, but expensive products are waiting in line to be reviewed. Hope to see you in the next video. Bye.